Ah, mounts. The unnamed partner and brother for any soldier going to war. A silent companion that follows your instructions, trusts you blindly. Treat it well and it will treat you well back. And if you are lucky, you can mount your partner and stride together into the sunset and hopefully into the next expansion. Famous mounts you might already know are the Invincible, Arthas's mount with a whole story behind it. Or Seabiscuit, a famous racehorse from the late 30s. Or Khal Drogo's most famous mount, Mount collecting has been a thing for a very long time, and although I'm not a collector myself, I do set my eyes on certain mounts. And so far, I got most of the ones that I wanted. Most because bulk Ashes of Valar and 8.1 came with new mounts to get. And yeah, today we will check on all of the new mounts that we got with Tides of Vengeance and how to obtain them. Starting off with Darkshore, we get 5 total mounts here from the rares that spawn in the Warfront. If you want to farm these rares efficiently, I recommend one of these 2 add-ons, or both if you are rebellious. Handy notes, specifically for Warfront rares, you can get handy notes for a lot more other stuff. Simple yet reliable, but the one that I super duper recommend is Tomcat's Tours, Rares of Darkshore. This little gem, not only does it show all of the rares, except for one which I will mention later, but it shows you what special loot each one has and marks them with a tick if you are locked for the respective loot. First one on the list is Blackpaw. Bear Cavalry, baby! Well, almost. Since it's unsaddled and unarmored, and we all know real bear cavalries are armored. But look at its magnificent plumage.
Well, actually, plumage is a term used for—
Shut up, nerd! Nobody likes you. Blackpaw drops from Blackpaw if you are Horde, and from Agatha Wormwood if you are Alliance. Agatha? Agathi? Whatever. Next up we have the Kaldorei Nightsaber, and can I just say that I love the new saber model. This beaut drops from Shadowclaw if you are Horde and Craw's Blood Rage if you are Alliance. Oof, magnificent. And if that Nightsaber wasn't up to your standards, maybe this Nightsaber is. The Captured Umber Nightsaber. This kitty drops from Athil Dewfire for Hordes and Moxo the Beheader for Alliance. As you can clearly see from his plumage, it's an improved Nightsaber variant. I really like the golden eyes on his black brownish fur. I already see it in the dark bushy forest looking back at me. I think I had nightmares with this stuff. Beautiful, must have. So far, the mounts I just mentioned have different rares that drop them depending on your faction, but the last 2 are universal. The first of the 2 is the Ashenvale Chimera. This 2-headed flying mount drops from the Alashneer rare way up on the cliffs. It looks like a reskin of the Rylak mount we got in Draenor that was rewarded for unlocking flying, right? That's how I remember it, I think. Last one on the list is the Frightened Kodo. What Frightened Kodo? That Frightened Kodo. Yeah, you get to mount that. Guess Malfurion didn't eat it. Now this is the tricky mount. I mentioned before that not all drop from rares, and this is the one. It actually eluded me so far. There are a few confirmed spawn places since the add-on doesn't show it. I've done a couple of runs, but it seems the spawn time of this one might actually be way larger. The way you get the Frightened Kodo is by simply walking up to it, because it's actually a friendly mob, and engage with it. It seems like you will need to calm it down and then it instantly goes into your bag. I'm taking this from the comments people posted about them obtaining it, so I'm still yet to get mine. If you do get this one, or actually have it already, I would super appreciate if you posted it in the comments how, where, coordinates, its 3 sizes, everything about it. Thank you very much. These are all the mounts that drop from rares in Darkshore, but we have one more place that drops mounts, and you know what that is? That's right! Island Expeditions! Woo! Where dreams are forged, then disenchanted for half market price materials. Among the mounts that were dropping since 8.0, we have 4 additional mounts that can drop from their respective themed islands. We have the Stonehide Elderhorn, essentially a moose, but black, like my love life. It's actually nice, although I do prefer the brown version more. Next up we have the Risen Mare, which is a skeletal horse with no armor and saddle, but using the old model. I don't particularly fancy this type of horse, since most of my characters are orcs. They just look silly on bony horses. Although they were the first ones to ride bony horses. Although their souls resided in human bodies. And if you think this is dark, that's because this is Warcraft 2, when dark fantasy was not done by Disney. I suppose the upside is that Alliance can use it as well, so yay? Now we're getting to the good stuff. My personal favorite category, dragons. Island Thunderscale is the bluish version of the Storm Drakes, similar to the Nilfgaard world boss in Stormheim. This baby looks electric. I'll be super glad when it drops, although it has a steep competition with my Valajar Stormwing, which is what I farmed in Legion. Lastly, we have the Blood-Gorged Hunter, a bat, a big reskin of the Storm Mount, which I bought in Draenor since there were no bats in the game at the time, if I recall correctly. Although considering this model and the other bat we have further down the list, this is much better. In case you missed the changes for island expeditions, you don't need to target specific mobs to get their themed loot. Simply them being present on the island will be enough, so you can just do the islands normally, and your chances of getting the mounts are already as high as they can be. And these are all the mounts that drop from doing content. Now with 8.1 we have vendors added for a lot of things, but the ones we care about are the Warfront vendor that sells stuff for the Warfront currency you get from the quests and world quests, and the Island Expedition vendor that sells his stuff for doubloons. From the Warfront vendor we have 2 mounts that you can get with each faction for a total of 4. For Alliance we have the Azure Shell Krollusk for 200 service medals and the Priestess Moonsaber, which I think hit the jackpot for Alliance. This has got to be one of the coolest and heavily themed Night Elf mounts, also comes at 750 service medals. Horde on the other side has the Ruby Shell Krollusk, which is the better Krollusk if you ask me. Red is always better than blue, also 200 medals. And the big boy, the big disappointment in this list, in my opinion, is the Bloodthirsty Dreadwing for 750 medals. This one is the actual reskin of the Storm Mount. There are differences of course, but subtle enough that you have to look for them. Short end of the stick for the Horde in this case. As for Island Expedition vendor, it sells only 2 mounts, with no faction exclusivity. The first one is Saltwater Seahorse, and it goes for 500 doubloons. I haven't seen it confirmed yet, but I imagine it's an underwater mount, the fastest kind. Since I'm lacking in that department, I'm actually looking forward for this one. The second one is Siltwing Albatross, that goes for 1000 doubloons. Man, it's so fun to say doubloons! Obviously a flying mount, though its model is interesting. It looks super small, kind of like the parrot models, so I really want to see this under a Tauren. Also, a more reclusive vendor that sells the Marsh Hoppers with 3 colors can be found in Nazmir. They each come at a whopping 333,333 gold. You can find this vendor down in Nazmir in a cave. It's not that hard to miss, and you don't need anything to unlock to get this one. To be honest, the Frog mount has been on my most anticipated list after the 5 million gold mount. Again, locked behind the big chunk of gold, a little hard for new players to get, especially since gold making hasn't been the best this expansion. But hey, you are welcome to disagree. And the last on the list is the Hivemind. This is a secret mount that you can obtain by doing all these secret puzzles uncovered by our loving secret uncovering community. No really, The guys did an amazing job getting all this info out for us. It's compiled neatly in a guide up on Wowhead, which I recommend you guys visit. The only reason why I'm not mentioning it in this video is because it's actually a hefty endeavor to get it, in terms of time and content. You're not locked behind anything, you just need time to get around the world and do all the puzzles. Also, you need 4 other people to complete the activity. Boom! We're done! These are all the new mounts that we get in Tides of Vengeance. Of course, BFA added a lot more mounts that you can get through various achievements and such, as with other expansions. If you guys are interested in that, I could make another short video about those as well, so let me know. Thanks for checking the video, I hope it was useful. Like if you like, subscribe if you want more. I love you and happy holidays!